You're listening to The Support Report with Be Present, where we share real stories from young adults and how support changed their lives.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into another episode of The Support Report. We are Be Present. I'm your host, Justin Peters, and joining me today is Sharon Kim. Sharon was thrust into caregiving after her mom, Ruby, was unexpectedly diagnosed with cancer. Unfortunately, after a year fighting, Ruby lost her battle to cancer. And through that experience, Sharon knew that she needed to serve the cancer patients and caregivers by helping them bring out their inner doctor. And that's where the idea of CanPlan was born. Sharon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Justin. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. So you grew up in Oahu, is this correct?
Yes,
So
beautiful islands of Hawaii.
Yeah, tell me about growing up in Hawaii. How long were you there for? And is your family local to Hawaii, or did you guys move there?
Yeah, so my parents immigrated to Hawaii from Korea when they were quite young, I think maybe 20s, early 20s. And I was born and raised there until I was 18 years old. So my childhood and my early years of life is all Hawaii. It's a very beautiful island, but it is very small. And I feel like I had a lot of big ambitions and big dreams when I was a young girl. And so I always felt kind of like trapped on an island, if that makes sense. I always had this urge to kind of move and explore and just experience different things. And that's kind of hard when you live in Hawaii, but it's great for visiting, and I'm blessed to have lived there.
Yeah, I would assume that, as you know, with all the tourists and everything, it's awesome and it's beautiful, but you probably get to know just about everybody on the island that's not a tourist there, and it feels pretty claustrophobic after some time.
Yes, you definitely can't go grocery shopping without bumping into someone you know. So so you got to have your face on all the time.
That's hilarious. So you left at 18, moved to California, and went to Santa Clara University. Is this correct?
Yes, that is.
And then after college, you went to work for a startup.
Yeah. So Santa Clara is in the hub of the Silicon Valley. So there's a lot of tech startups there, and I kind of got immersed into that whole environment fairly quickly.
And then, so you were at this startup that you're working at, and you got a call. It was December 3rd, 2013. I'm assuming it was probably a pretty frantic call from your sister. What can you illustrate that day for us?
Yeah, those are definitely one of the days that is kind of burned into my memory. I think I just got out of class or something, or I was taking another class and working at the same time. And I think it was after work, and she called and she just sounded super worried and frantic. But she also had that voice where she didn't want me to worry too much about it, but I knew it was something serious. And she basically said mom had cancer. It's stage 1, it's uterine sarcoma cancer. It's a rare type of cancer, but the doctors are thinking that they can treat it. I I don't know what you should do. I can't tell you what to do, but know that I love you. And if you think that coming home back to Hawaii is something you should do, then maybe think about that.
So is this older sister?
Yes, older sister.
So there was definitely a little bit of protection in that conversation, but you did decide to go back to Hawaii.
Yes, I did. And if I'm very honest with you, Justin, I think it was a very hard decision. And I think, I was 21 years old at the time. And I think this is something that young adult caregivers go through, especially because you're kind of at a pivotal point in your life where you do have big dreams, and you're highly influenced by your environment, and you want to succeed. And so leaving that all behind, and the thought of going back to Hawaii again, like where I felt like I was trapped and I couldn't pursue these big dreams that I had, it was a hard decision. And I don't think I have had the space to be honest about that. I think a lot of the times when I thought that way, I felt really guilty. Like it should be a no-brainer, right? My mom is like the most important person in my life. Why wouldn't I easily and willingly go back home to care for her, especially in the time where she needs me the most? And so, yeah, it was a hard decision. Like my dream was to become like a marketing manager at a big company in the tech industry, and live that successful life according to society. And I was on the way there, and I felt like I was just beginning to get there. So yeah, I felt like it would be a huge step back if I moved home, but ultimately I thought through it, and I thought, it's silly for me to give up what I want most for what I want right now. And what I want
Mm.
most is to be that person for my mom. I'll never get this opportunity again to care for her in this way. And that's love, and that's sacrifice. And so I packed my bags and I moved back home.
Wow. Yeah, I never thought about that. That would be a really challenging moment. I don't think anyone would shame you one way or another. Were your brother and your sister back in Hawaii at that time?
Yes, they were both there. So it
So
was
she
kind of
had
like a,
support. If
yes, she
mm.
did.
So you moved back, and maybe before I move on from here, did you have prior experience with cancer? Did cancer run in the family, or did you experience someone going through cancer that was close to you before?
I had no experience with cancer. Yeah, I was completely just lost. Right when I got back home, I had no idea what to expect. You read about it in the news and you hear about it from a distance, but it's so different when you're fully immersed into that world. So no, I did not have experience with cancer.
So how did you react? What Sharon showed up? Was it, did you go straight into like mom mode? I'm figuring this out. I'm big cheerleader. Were you confused, not sure where you fit in? What were your initial feelings that first week or two whenever you got back?
Yeah, I love that question. Which Sharon showed up? I feel like, for anyone that has had experience with this whole cancer world, everything happens so quickly. From the moment I got off the plane, I was heading to a doctor's appointment, and like I
Mm,
was trying to absorb everything. And I really feel like I did not have a lot of time to reflect or think through things. Um, Everything happened so quickly, and I didn't have time to process my emotions. And I want to tell you, like, the best version of me showed up, and I was ready and, able to care for my mom in a healthy way. But the reality is I was so lost myself. Like
mm.
I just didn't want to feel what I was actually feeling. So I did a lot to numb my emotions, whether that was drinking or, smoking weed, to be honest. And like, I did a lot of things to just numb what I was feeling because I was so scared to actually feel it because I didn't think I would get out of that place. And so I showed up for my mom, but it wasn't the version that I wished it would have been, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think anyone probably would show up as the version they want to be at that time. I'm assuming you grew into that role a little bit. What were some early learning lessons with caregiving, or maybe even before that, what did caregiving look like whenever you're taking care of your mom?
It was a mess.
What was the day to
Oh my
day where
goodness.
did you have to I mean, and we're gonna get into CanPlan, and I'm
Mm.
assuming that would have saved you early on. But
Yeah.
in terms of like what needs to happen, like if people don't realize the burden that a caregiver takes on, like what are the everyday actions that have to happen?
Mm, yeah. I had to learn how to cook healthy meals like in an instant.
Mm,
Like, because my mom couldn't really cook and she was always the main cook in the house. And so me and my sister kind of just watched a bunch of videos. We learned how to juice. We learned about ginger shots. We tried everything because we knew that like her diet was something that we can have some control over. Like what you put into your body is so important. And the whole family had to change the way that we ate and thought and operated. And so, like we're all doing the whole green juicing thing. We're all trying to be vegan and help her in that way. Something I didn't realize was that Like, I kind of thought that when she got cancer, she would just be, tired all the time and wouldn't have energy to do anything. But it was actually right after she had chemotherapy treatment. That's when it would be the worst. But there were pockets of like moments where she was really energetic, and she's like, yeah, let's go for a hike, let's do this. And like, yeah, that kind of caught me off guard, but I definitely appreciated those moments, and I took advantage of them whenever I could. But the basic day-to-day life was like cooking every single meal and just making sure that we're aware of the energy that we bring into the room. A lot of the times, I think my sister and we weren't aware, and so it was just, like not helpful for the situation. But we didn't know that it was okay to take time for ourselves too, and that resting can be holy. It's holy work to rest, even as a caregiver, especially as a caregiver, actually. So, yeah, just taking time for ourselves is super important, and I wish that we got more of that, or learned and heard that it was okay to do that during that time.
Mm. So, through the dialogue with doctors and just observing your mom, did you feel like she was going to overcome this battle? Did you know where the journey was leading, or what were your thoughts throughout the process?
Yeah, I was very confident. I think being so young and like having that mentality of like, we can overcome anything,
Mm.
it was definitely helpful at times. But it actually like made me more resistant to the truth of what was really going on. But we basically put all of our hope into her doctor. Like, whatever her doctor said we should do, we did it immediately. And we were waiting on every single word that he was saying, and he was telling us that it looked good, and it was improving. And so I did have a lot of hope and faith that she would overcome this, in the beginning.
What about communicating with your siblings, and sharing responsibilities as a caregiver? What do you have a lesson learned from that? Like, if somebody is walking into the situation that you walked into, and they're not the only caregiver, and maybe it's them and a couple siblings, or a significant other, or whatever it may be, uh, did you communicate with your siblings around who did what and where your energy levels were at, and taking the break and all of that?
That's a great question. No, and the short answer is no, we didn't. No, we were horrible. We didn't communicate at all, and so, like, I would caregive for my mom at night, and my sister would do it in the morning, and so there was a huge discrepancy in what my sister was experiencing versus what I was experiencing. And like, we would, give my mom medicine like twice, and we were only supposed to give it once, and these little hiccups here and there, and we would bicker all the time about, who was doing what. And so that's why I believe that CanPlan was so pivotal. And I'm sure we'll talk about it more,
Yeah.
but just having that documented, like, seeing, like, we began to get into the habit of documenting everything from like her mood, her diet, to, like, just what her cancer looked like on a day-to-day basis. And when my sister wrote down everything, I could come in and read everything that happened throughout the day. And it just put me at the same page and the same playing field as her. And we were able to caregive for her in a much more coherent way. So documenting everything is so, so important, especially if there's multiple caregivers.
Mm. So did you just get a blank notebook and start from there?
Yeah, so I looked online to see if there was anything like it on the market, and there wasn't. So I just got a regular lined paper, and I would draw everything out, like all the sections every single day. I think it took me like 25 minutes to just draw the layout out. I was so frustrated, but in the end it helped. So that was the early days of the formation of CanPlan.
Yeah. And what part of your mom's cancer journey was that in? What month would you say?
Yeah, so it was right after we got the news that my mom's cancer was actually metastasizing to her lungs, and that there was nothing the doctors could do. So I think, like I said before, we put all of our hope and faith into her doctors, and then all of a sudden he just was like, we're sending her home. There's nothing we can do for her further. We could send her to hospice and have her pass away peacefully. And I remember like that moment, and I was so just infuriated and so frustrated with like with myself and with, just everything that we've been doing thus far. And I was like, there has to be something. We have to be able to take the driver's seat again in some way. And so I just started researching a bunch of things, and I was like, if we're gonna bring her home and see what her cancer is like on a day-to-day basis, we need to be tracking everything, and that's kind of how it started, the whole tracking and whatnot.
Mm. So we've teased CanPlan a lot now,
Yeah.
and I want to tell the story of CanPlan, and this is almost like the rough draft version one that you started working on. So what were you mentioned, I think, mood. What other things
Mm.
did you track originally inside of rough draft one of CanPlan?
Yeah, it was her mood, her diet, any exercise, any medications or side effects or symptoms that she was experiencing, and just an overall picture. Like if you could summarize what how her day went, in 2 to 3 sentences. I left space for that too.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but I think the biggest one was actually her mood and just like noticing little things about her that she wouldn't communicate. I think that was really helpful that me and my sister had a prompt, to notice those things, and we're reminded to look out for those things in the future.
Mm. So November 2014 came. What was the sediment leading up to your mom passing away? And how did you and your sister and the rest of your family react to her passing away?
Yeah, it came so quickly. Um, and I was actually the only child or the only person in the room with her when she was passing away. I think my mom or my brother and my sister thought she would have, more time, and so they're doing their own thing for a little bit. But it just happened so quickly where her breath was running out, and I was the only person there. And my mom was like looking me in the eye, but she couldn't say anything, as her breath started, slowing down. And I feel like that was just a blessing in disguise. I feel like it was one of the hardest moments of my life. It burns in my memory, to have that eye contact with her. And I feel like she was saying, like, I love you, and I hope you live a good, happy life. And I'm sorry that I can't be there for you during important times in your life, but know that I'm there in spirit. And yeah, it changed me in a deep, deep, transformative way. So I'm so grateful that I was the one there, and that I was holding her hand. And I don't know. I feel like she kind of just left something with me in that moment, in that day. Um, but it was the hardest moment of my life.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be so challenging. Really challenging to be there. But at the same time, if I got my say, I'd probably want to be there as well, I'm guessing. But it was challenging for you. As I've heard you speak about, you had a challenging couple weeks or months that followed. You were struggling with
Mm.
depression and just missing your mom a ton. Um, and then you realized that you needed to turn some of this energy and you needed to honor your mom's passing by continuing what you started with CanPlan.
Mm.
So can you tell us about the journey, the starting the journey of CanPlan? Did you realize it was going to turn into what it was? And what were your initial ambitions for it?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I had no idea or no intention of starting a business or anything like that. Honestly, honestly, I really did hit rock bottom after my mom passed away. It was the lowest point in my life. I was drinking and like smoking and partying like the most that I've ever done before. And I was in an abusive relationship. My dad remarried, fairly quickly. And so I had to pick my life up really, really quick and become independent really quick. And I felt like it was like an eviction from my old life. Like something was kicking me out and
Wow.
saying that that's it for your old life. Everything you knew up until now is gone, and you got to figure out what to do. But I feel like with every eviction there comes an invitation as well. And
Mm.
just being aware and being able to see that invitation, um, that's where the magic happens. And it did take me a while to see that there was an invitation. I feel like I received it a while ago, but I was, it was kind of dormant in my life because I was either scared, that I wasn't ready or wasn't prepared enough to enter into a new life or to take CanPlan to the next level. I kind of coasted. So rather than, trusting the inviter who sent the invitation, I let fear kind of boggle me down. And that happened like maybe 2 years after she passed. I was in this huge funk. Um, and I wish it was some like, magical moment where everything turned around, or some spiritual moment. I don't know. But I just woke up one day and I was so just sick and tired of living that way.
Mm.
I was like, this can't be the purpose for my life. Like, I need to turn something around. And so I just went on my computer and I started mocking up like digital designs of CanPlan. I had no InDesign experience at all or digital experience at all, really. So I just learned. Like every day I would wake up and learn and devote my time into creating a digital draft of this. And I showed my sister, and my sister, I knew from her initial reaction, like I hit something. She's
Mm.
like, this is amazing. I think this is really, really going to help people. Um, and so I kind of took that and I ran with it, but I never really thought that this was what I would be doing. I never yet had that ambition to turn it into a business. I kind of just saw that there was a need, and I saw that God gifted me with certain things, and I wanted to be able to gift him back with those gifts and create something that would really help people. Um, and so I'm grateful. I think the genuine intent to help people was there from the beginning.
Yeah, and help people you did. I don't know if these numbers are accurate, but 12,000 thrivers are using CanPlan to date. And you saw this huge need in the market. Once again, I don't know if these numbers are accurate. It was somewhere in your Kickstarter, but so they may be a little outdated. If anything, it's probably a larger ratio. But you mentioned that there are 13,400 physicians in the US who specialize in adult medical oncology, and there's 14.5 million Americans living with a history of cancer. That's like a over 1,000 to 1 ratio in terms of support there. And CanPlan, as I alluded to in my bio view, helps bring out the inner doctor in somebody. It's
Mm,
your doctor threw in the white flag on your mom, and you came back
mm,
and realized it's my time to shine. I'm taking responsibility for this. I'm going to start tracking things. I'm going to start learning more intensely about these things. So I really, really love where CanPlan, the intent of where it came from and what it's helping people
mm.
do. Can you just give us a little teaser? I've seen the versions. You're on version 5 now, moving into the new year. A lot of really amazing things that have been added throughout. Can you just give us a little teaser about 3 or 4 of your favorite sections inside of CanPlan?
Mm. Yeah, I maybe I'm a little biased because I created the planner. I love the positivity exercises
Me
in the
too.
back. I think I think it's a great way for patients to really realign their focus, and find that silver lining. I know it's so hard at times, but I designed it in a way where they would have fun while doing it, and they would subconsciously be able to to find the hope and faith in their journey. I also love the monthly calendar. I feel like I've received the most feedback and compliments about it. But it basically gives you a month overview of how that entire month went. So you could easily show it to a doctor and show him the days that were good and the days that were bad, and kind of give him some idea of what you believe led to those bad days. Was it the medication? Was it maybe you didn't reach out to a friend when you should have, or it, like what were your symptoms looking like that day? So I feel like that's been really, really helpful for patients. And a patient actually told me that she showed that monthly calendar to her doctor, and before, like, they weren't gonna treat her because they didn't know what she was experiencing the days before, and they weren't sure if it was safe to treat her. But after looking at that monthly calendar, they're like, "I think you're okay. It seems like you've been having some good days." And so she got it treated that day, and she said that treatment might have saved my life.
Mm.
So I love hearing stories like that. And I just love the daily tracker. I think I designed it in a way where patients can be very reflective, because I think it's so hard during the journey. You're kind of in survival mode and you don't take the time that you need to slow down and really think through, what you need to do that day, or what's going to be the most helpful or useful for you that day. Whether it's rest or just taking time for yourself, I think the planner really intuitively guides a patient to ask themselves that question, and to really self-reflect, so that they're able to come out with this beautiful, beautiful story, and like look through the pages and see, the rawness and the good days and the bad days, and appreciate both. So I'm a pretty big fan of the planner.
I am a big fan as well. And I love it too, because it's once again allowing you to bring out your inner doctor, but it's supporting your doctor as well. I think people need to take responsibility for their health. But you're not trying to boot the doctor out. It's great because it's helping them out and allowing them to keep track of the important things that are part of that journey as well. You had two successful Kickstarter campaigns. Is this correct?
Yes.
So, what did you expect to hit your goals on both of those Kickstarters? It's kind of incredible.
Thank you. I was definitely hoping that they would succeed, and thankfully I did have a little bit of experience with crowdfunding from my previous job. So
Mm,
I don't know. It's crazy to think about, actually, like all the little things that I had exposure to or experience with that led me to this moment. Like, so for my old tech company, I did do crowdfunding, and I used to work at the mailroom in my at college, and so I understood, what the cheapest rate of shipping was and how to
mm.
efficiently package things. I also did some legal work, so I was able to understand the legalities behind starting a business and all of that. And so it, I do feel like there was a lot of preparation for this moment, and yeah, once that Kickstarter was funded, it really felt like God was just confirming, that this door is open for you if you want to take it. So
Yeah.
it was
And
awesome.
I also read about a big moment of yours where you got a call from a marketing executive at an oncology um, center, I guess. And he or she wanted to offer CanPlan to all of their ovarian cancer patients. Is this correct? Did that go through?
Yes. Yes. I At first I didn't actually answer the email right away because I thought it was spam.
Mm.
I was like, there's no possible way that this could be happening. So I didn't respond for like a day or two. And then I told my friend, I was like, does this sound right? And they're like, who knows? Just call them. And I was like, okay. So I called them and they were like, do you think you could start off with maybe 8,000 planners? And I was just like, um, yeah, that's no problem. But I've never ever, ran that much planners in my life. And so it was a crazy ride, and they were so amazing to work with, and it
Mm.
just, yeah, being part of that process with them and knowing that it's getting into so many hands just from this one relationship, it felt like my dreams were coming true, so that was awesome.
That is awesome. So if people want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about CanPlan, if they want to get their own CanPlan or gift it to somebody that they think needs one, where can they go?
They could go to our website, which is mycanplan.com. We're on Amazon. We're on pretty much every platform, I believe, eBay, Shopify, and you can follow us on Instagram as well at CanPlan.
Awesome. So through your own journey of being a supporter and being a caregiver, and now being so entrenched in this center of people, what do you think great support looks like?
Hmm, that's a good question. Um, I think because this is probably one of the points where I wish I had done a better job in, but really knowing that self-care is so important and necessary. Um, I think you can't give to someone what you don't already have. And so it's so important for you to be aware of where you're at, like mentally, emotionally throughout the whole journey, so that you're able to give your best and your all to the person you're caregiving for. And I think that's love to understand your needs as well, and to create a safe space for you to process these really raw emotions, and not feel judgment for feeling a certain way or thinking in a certain way. Yeah, if you have a space like a friend that you trust or something that you could just share freely with,
Mm.
I think that's so important. And I wish that I had that, or felt safe enough with a friend to be able to tell them like what I was really going through. I think it would have saved me a lot of numbing of my emotions. Um, and just knowing that it's okay to feel whatever it is that you're feeling, and just be honest with yourself, because the only way you could get better is to know exactly where you are in your journey, and be honest with yourself. So
Mm.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing, Sharon. It was a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for more than just coming on the show, but creating something beautiful out of what most people would look at as a tragedy. So I appreciate you and everything you're doing with CanPlan. And hopefully this won't be our last conversation. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you so much, Justin. It was an honor to speak with you today.